What's going on, guys? This is Martyrs Brigade 99 coming to you once again with another session of Dark Souls PvP. Alright guys, we're back at it and we're doing another session of random invasions. Alright, and this time we're going to start it off over in the Ulasil Township. Now, shout out to good old Shore Dude. We're both pulling out our buff builds. Right, this is my medium rolling strong mage. And actually, I think this is one of the more difficult builds for me to play. Mainly because I am using a lot of the strongest strength weapons. Strongest meaning basically some of the largest ones. Right. And I think anyone who is basically good at using a build like this, I would consider them a rather good player. Mainly because one of the major differences between a lot of the strength weapons and the dexterity weapons is that the recovery speeds with regard to the attacks are very slow. Right? So, case in point, with a katana, you can't just, have one or two swings with a relatively quick recovery speed. Thereby minimizing your likeliness of, being punished. With strength weapons, on the other hand, this is not the case. Right? For the most part, when you use a lot of the heavier strength weapons, one missed swing could be either a backstab, a roll BS, or maybe one or two swipes with a faster swinging weapon. And this is why when you want to use a strength build, particularly with some of the heavier weapons, some of the stronger weapons, the small hammers, the regular R1 attack of the clubs, and when I say club, I'm not talking about the reinforced club or the standard club. I'm talking about the large club and the great club. Right? You really need to learn how to space out your attacks, how to anticipate kind of space and opportunity for attacks, right? Because you really don't want to get punished after having missed an attack. So I've really been using my strength build with regard to some of the larger weapons pretty often lately, right? And although I do lose a lot, I am getting to a point to where I am improving, right? With regard to those weapons, I'm learning to better judge where my opponent is, when I should engage and when I should not, based upon where my opponent is. And I'm actually getting better with it. And as a matter of fact, I think using that hidden weapon helps me out a lot, right? Because when you're using like that demon great hammer and some of those other large weapons, for some reason, when they can't see them, it's kind of hard for them to anticipate what exactly you're going to do. Right? So if you guys will notice, I've kind of incorporated that hidden weapon. Sometimes I put in the great magic weapon. I mean, I don't use the crystal magic. That's just a little too much. But I use the basic magic weapon and the great magic weapon in addition to the hidden weapon on this particular build. Now, this particular build is not especially fancy. As a matter of fact, I think it's 125, exactly 125 or 124, something like that. But it has 15 vitality, 16 in attunement, I believe, 58 strength. No, this one just has 50 strength and 18 dexterity, right? And as a matter of fact, I think I have only 18 in intelligence. Right, so for a lot of you guys that like to do one-shots with the dark bead, I'm not doing any one-shots. Thus the Ulasil talisman. Right, I only have 18 strength. I'm not really trying to one-shot people. Although, even with 18 intelligence, I mean, you can get pretty decent damage. If you guys notice that match between good old Short Dude and I think I inflicted somewhere around 600 in damage. But that was only because the beads were concentrated. And for a lot of you new guys that are playing the game, that is pretty much the best way to use that particular sorcery. And I mean, you can use it from a distance, but the power of the dark beads, for the most part, is seen when the attacks are all concentrated or converged, you might say. Right? So yeah, I was doing little invasions in the Duke's Archives. Nice attack anticipation right there. And I love this weapon, the Black Knight Halberd. A lot of people sleep on it. As a matter of fact, I kind of pride myself, after, being kind of one of those guys that like to experiment with different weapons. I think this is a good thing, right? Not only for the purposes of showcasing, but, I kind of like to broaden my quote-unquote skill, for lack of better words, with the usage of various weapons. Because I think a lot of guys, as I've said plenty of times in the past, they kind of get one or two good weapons and they just kind of stick with it, because it's their bread and butter. But me on the other hand, I just like to switch it up. And this is why I have, a full strength build, a full dexterity. And when I say full, I mean full. One that can even use the Smo hammer, right, with even one arm, right? So that also means that I have 58 in strength, and so that's a full strength. A good dexterity build that fast rolls, and then I have this strong mage, you like to call it. And it's not really a mage. I only use a few sorceries, even though two of the ones that I use are pretty much support sorceries, right? I use hidden body sometimes. I even throw in chameleon just to kind of throw off some of the stronger attacks of some of the larger weapons, kind of like the that Dragon King sword, and some of these others. And they kind of, that kind of chameleon and hidden body and hidden weapon, those definitely come in handy. Because see, with regard to being a mage build, I know a lot of guys, they like to use only those offensive sorceries, kind of like the pursuers, the dark bead, obviously crystal magic, actually crystal soul spear, homing crystal soul mask. Me, on the other hand, I kind of like to incorporate some of the support sorceries. Like I said before, the hidden body, the hidden weapon, the chameleon every now and then, because I think, just kind of diversifying your attack strategies is kind of a good thing. And not only that, in a lot of cases, it kind of throws off your opponent. Right? Because in other words, how often will you see somebody kind of hitting a chameleon and then coming at you with a jumping R2 attack that comes with the Smo hammer? I mean, how many people would really expect that? Not many. Right? So I kind of like to mix it up every now and then. So yeah, this is my dexterity build. And actually, I had a lot of guys on one of my videos say that the build must be a level 200 because I'm wielding both dexterity weapons and strength weapons, in addition to seeing me with some of the sorceries. No, guys, I have, well, actually, I won't even say I have. All of my male characters are dressed the same, right? Because I just like the way the armor set looks. Shout out to good old Tukey the Brazen. I kind of got the idea from him, and I've just basically stuck with it. And actually, my male characters have two armor sets that I use, right? I use this armor set, or every now and then I'll switch it up with my Swag Hollow Warrior armor set, which is the Steel Helm, the Hollow Soldier breastplate, the Silver Knight leggings, in addition to the Giant's gauntlets. I just love the way that look appears. I mean, it's real swagalicious. Right? So with regard to my male characters, I'll use either the Hollow Swag Warrior armor set, or I'll use this armor set, and that's all my male characters. Now with regard to my female characters, which for the most part are only caster builds, either they're pure casters, pure caster meaning only pyro or only intelligent, or they are hybrid caster builds, and all of those are also dressed the same. they use, naturally the Crown of Dusk with the Hollow Soldier breastplate, the Hollow Soldier leggings, in addition to the Havel's gauntlets. Now, some of you guys, I've read the comments, so I just figured I'd talk about it. Some of you guys, with regard to my invasion videos, I kind of hear you guys make comments with regard to my playstyle. But let me just kind of address that. Listen up, dudes. Now, if you're one of these absolutists, right, then good for you. Now, some of you guys may say, dude, what in the world do you mean by absolutist? Absolutist meaning you play the same way despite the occasion. In other words, if you're dueling, you'll play a certain way. If you're fighting during an invasion, you play the same way. Well, guess what, guys? I don't play that way. Right? I play according to the situation. If I am invading, right? Case in point, this video, random invasions, just like part 1 of the random invasions. If I'm playing like this, I'm playing to kill, right? I'm not trying to duel, right? It's not about sportsmanship. I'm not trying to, basically concentrate or home in on my skills, both offensive and defensive. No, I'm playing to kill, dude. Now, granted, I don't need to go to the extent of using a Hornet Ring, nor am I trying to one-shot. But am I just trying to kill to get my humanity and or souls? Of course. Right? So for all of you guys who are like, oh my God, he's backstabbing. So what, dude? Get over it. This is an invasion. Now, if I'm in a situation like in the Berg, maybe. Because the Berg is slowly becoming trash the last few times I've visited there. Or if I am in a fight club. Or if I am participating in a tournament. Granted, I play differently, right? I won't be popping you off with 2 backstabs or whatever like that, because I understand that there are rules, and it's more of the competitiveness without having some of these play styles that some would consider to be other than honorable. Now, granted, I'm not all into the honor brigade, but I understand what they mean when they say it, right? So there's a difference. So I'm not an absolutist, as I've said before. So you guys need to get over it. If you see me, in the forest, and I've read your comments. You say, oh my God, the only thing you did in the forest was BS, especially during 2v1s or 3v1s. Well, here's my kind of response to that. Some of you guys with these opinions won't even find yourself in a situation where you're actually duking it out with 2v1s or 3v1s. You're just making comments just for the sake of making them. But guess what, guys? There is no perfect situation with regard to 2v1s or 3v1s. I've even heard some of you guys, actually read some of you guys say, oh, you're doing it all wrong because you should stick with the host. Guess what? Any of you guys who have done as many 2v1s or as many 3v1s as I have would know that you cannot only stick at the host, right? Stick with the host, rather. You cannot only chase after the host. Think about it. If you're only chasing after the host, you're leaving your back exposed. And who are you leaving your back exposed to? You're leaving it exposed to his battle buddies, or his ridiculous ganker buddies who are just bloodthirsty and waiting for an opportunity to Hornet Ring you. So this is why when you're fighting during a 2v1 or 3v1, it is not wise, in my personal opinion, to just chase after the host. Because you have to remember, guys, the host is the one who flasks. The host is the one who are keeping his buddies alive by continuously flasking. So in other words, there are no ideal situations. In some cases, you just have to attack whoever's in your face and whoever is the most vulnerable, bottom line. And if you have to keep attacking, backstabbing them, guess what, dude? This is 2v1 or 3v1. You have to keep doing it. That's the bottom line. So for a lot of you guys in the honor brigade who say, all you're doing is BSing those campers. Okay, here's what I would suggest. For all you guys with your little comments, go ahead and upload a video response wherein you are demonstrating several instances of 2v1s or 3v1s when all you're doing is sticking it to the host. That's all. And just show us how pro that you can be, because actually, like I've said before, I'm an average player. I'm not one of these fancy dancy type dudes with all the, high speed tips, tricks, and tactics. No. So because of that, I just, whatever I need to do to survive, that's what I do. Barring the use of a hornet ring, or waiting until I get some help, because if you'll notice, even when I understand that the odds are against me, I don't hide. I don't go put on my fog ring and wait until reinforcement comes. I engage, because the way I see it, the best way for you to get better is to just basically dive in head first. Right? Because once you dive in head first, either you're going to sink or you're going to swim. And actually, this is good advice for a lot of you new players, right? Because one mistake that I notice with a lot of you new guys is that you are so afraid of getting attacked to where you'll just basically turtle. Especially you guys with the great shields, you'll just kind of walk around with your shield up the whole time. But guess what, guys? Playing a little too cautiously is not going to help you to improve. Sometimes you just need to get out there and attack. Bottom line, you need to get out there and attack. Know when to shield up, know when to engage, know when to disengage, right? Know when to circle. And when you're just kind of playing with your shield up the whole time, so much so to where you don't even have an opportunity to attack, you're not going to get better, guys. Because if you notice, there are times when I have my shields up, but at the end of the day, you have to engage. Right, so when you see some of these guys, they're just kind of sitting there, turtling, or they just have their shield up and not really doing anything. Listen, guys, I understand that you guys may be new. I understand that you may be faced against someone who you perceive to be a better player. But guess what? The only way you're going to get better is that you stop being scared, stop turtling, put your gloves on, get out there and fight. Bottom line, kind of like your son, right? For all of you guys that have sons that are of school age, same thing I'll tell my nephew, same thing I'm going to tell my little one when he gets a little older. Listen, don't be scared. You get out there and you handle it. All right, so enough about some of the new players and some of the tactics that they use. All right, so we're back at it in the forest, kind of getting beaten up a few times. Right, which is, who cares? The way I see it, I don't really care about getting beaten up, because at the end of the day, I'm all about trying to figure out how to improve, right? And in order for you to get better at PvP, you have to be willing to lose. You can't be scared of losing. I know sometimes when you're in such a competitive society, kind of like some of these quote-unquote Western societies, is all about, who's the best, who can win the most, and all like that. But guess what? If you're going to be successful, you have to get comfortable with losing. You definitely have to get comfortable with losing. Right? Because once you get comfortable with losing, you will slowly get to the point to where you are basically evolving into an awesome player. Right? I don't care how awesome the player. I know some of you guys are kind of fans of Peeve, Dark Souls Mind's Eye, Pep, some of these other hotshot guys. But guess what, dude? They lost a lot. They did not get to the point to where they are right now they just kind of had a gift as soon as they picked up the controller. No. Right? You got to get comfortable with losing in order for you to get better. Alright, that's the bottom line. So enough about that. Enough of the lecture. Alright, so case in point, here's another situation. I know some of you guys, I know I'm going to read the comments where you guys are saying, look dude, all you did was backstab him. Well, guess what? What should I do, right? If I chase only after the host, there's a potential there for me to leave my back open. Right? So the way I see it, you just have to attack the closest target. And sometimes the closest target is not always the host. Now, I do know that there are Lloyd's talismans out there. Right? But sometimes, I mean, just trying to, keep throwing Lloyd's talismans could leave yourself open to attacks. Right now, in some cases, you're able to hit off the Lloyd's talisman and it's good. In other cases, you could become a victim by trying too much, trying to use the Lloyd's talisman. And it has happened to me on a number of occasions. Right? There's been plenty of situations wherein, I'm kind of fighting multiple guys, and I mean the hosts just keep dodging the Lloyd's talismans, and actually I'm trying so hard on the Lloyd's talisman that I end up getting killed. Alright, so sometimes this chasing after the host is just not an ideal tactic or strategy. Alright, so it is what it is with regard to that. So that's a good old tie right there. We end up killing each other. That was a kind of a good match. Alright, so we're back at it in the forest. So we got a mage here. Alright, so let's see what this guy's got to offer. Nothing but a R1 spam. Well, actually, I can't even say a spam. He just tried a second attack. Right, at his detriment. Now see, this is one of the good things about using a katana. Like I said before, I mean, you can swing fast and it has a relatively fast recovery. Right, so do you really have to worry about being punished after a miss swing? No. And this is why I say for the most part that when you find someone who's pretty good at using strength weapons, right, they're pretty much a good player. And I'm trying to get to that point, right, especially with regard to some of the slower weapons. Right, because like I said before, although they do inflict a lot of damage, I mean, there is a large potential for you to be punished as a result of a missed swing. Alright, so we have a nice chain going on. But guess what, dude? I mean, I could do BS's too. Right? See, you guys would notice this on so many occasions, that once I notice someone trying to circle me in whatever direction, as a matter of fact, I think as long as I've been doing it, it's almost instinct. As soon as I see someone kind of circling, either clockwise or counterclockwise, as soon as I notice it. I mean, unless I'm just kind of trying to be funny, right? Because I know you guys have seen videos where someone is circling me, and actually I'm just kind of circling in the same direction. And because it's at the same speed, in most cases, they cannot land it. So, I mean, unless I'm just kind of trying to be funny, you guys would notice for yourself that when I'm PvPing against someone who I would consider to be pretty good, as soon as I notice them trying to engage me either in a clockwise or counterclockwise direction, you guys would notice my tactic. I immediately counter-circle them, which is a good defense. Alright, so for now I'm kind of sticking in with the host, mainly because his battle buddy is not really doing a good job of the 2v1. Well, actually, from the look of it, he's too slow to catch up with me. Alright, so because of that, I can kind of stick on the host, because if you notice, he's not running after me. Right, you see how slow this guy is? He can't even do anything. So I'm willing to say that his buddy, his way of white dude or whoever he is probably a newer player. Right, because I mean, look at those wild swings. Now, unless there's lags involved, I mean, that guy was just kind of swinging out in the air for the most part. Alright, go ahead and tighten him up with the BS. And the homing crystal soul mass eats through my shield. And look at him praising the sun. Come on, dude, you didn't even do anything. Get off it. Alright, so if you guys can see, I am going ahead and using my hidden weapon. Now, I think this is an awesome fight right here. This guy with this club And not only a club, with his usage of the strength weapons in addition to the pyro, I think this guy's a pretty good player. Right, because unlike a lot of guys that use the club, he is not just sticking with the two-handed rolling R1 attack, that smash down attack that cannot be parried. Right, because a lot of times when I run into guys that use the club, that's usually the only attack strategy that they have. Two-handed and continually run at you in R1. You know, that ground smash down. And this guy was pretty good. Now, granted, you'll notice on a couple of occasions he'll kind of back out and try to heal, but so what, dude? I mean, for a lot of you guys, because actually, you know, I listen to some of your commentaries, and a lot of you guys get butt hurt during an invasion and you notice that the host is healing. Right? I'm willing to say that you should expect a host to heal during a random invasion. Like I've said plenty of times in the past, it is not a fight club. It is not a tournament. These guys want to survive. So when you're doing random invasions, why would you get butthurt just because a person heals? If you guys would notice in a lot of my random invasion videos, you never see me get butthurt over someone healing. Not at all. Because in other words, why should I not expect them to heal? Now, when I do get butthurt is when we're in some of the what you might call quote unquote designated dueling areas and someone heals. You know, kind of like the undead bird. I don't necessarily, even though you have people invading there, I do not see it as an invasion area. Mainly because it is widely known that that is kind of like for setup matches. Another area where I would say that is designated for so-called designated dueling area is probably the Moonlight Butterfly Forest. Right now, if you heal there, I would probably get butthurt. Because come on, dude, who in the forest, at least in the Moonlight area, heals? Nobody, dude, so get over it. Right, but this guy is pretty good. He's doing, well, actually, he's putting forth an awesome display, in my personal opinion, of his strength / pyro build. And actually, I doubt if he has 45 dexterity, but I think he's still doing a good job with whatever he has. Right, he's mixing in the one-handed and two-handed R1s. He's got the use of the hand axe. He's not only keeping his attacks to the two-handed smash down, so he's mixing up. So I'm willing to believe that he's got a lot of experience with that build, which is a good thing. Now, another thing to take into consideration, the environment, right? Because the area is pretty much cramped, right? And when you're using those large weapons, in a lot of cases, you're not able to have a full swing, especially when you're dealing with some of the larger weapons, because all they'll do is just kind of impact against one of the inner walls or caves or tunnels or wherever you are. Alright, so we're back at it with the hidden weapon. If you guys notice, I went on ahead, like I've said before, and incorporated the couple sorceries. I have two. The Dark Bead, and there's another one that I use in addition to the magic weapon. Either magic weapon or greater magic weapon. I can't really remember which one I have. In addition to the hidden weapon. And you know, sometimes I kind of use hidden body. I know some of you honor dudes, you know, you'll say, oh, that's dishonorable, why would you be hiding? Get off it, dude. That's my build. I do what I want with it. Right? It's not like the fog ring or the hidden body sorcery exists the way it did when the game first came out. Because for a lot of you Dark Souls vets, and when I say vets, I basically mean some of you guys that had the game since its release, you guys would know that pretty much the fog ring, and I think the hidden body as well, you couldn't even lock on. You couldn't even lock on. So it was like you're basically fighting a dead angle attacker, because they could lock on to you, but you couldn't lock on to them. Right? Which was horrible with regard to PvP when the game first came out. So at least they fixed it. And you know, I've run into a whole bunch of fog ring hidden body users, and as long as you can lock on to them, so what if they're invisible? Yeah, they may hit off a shot or two, by surprising you. But besides that, so what? Well, alright guys, this is pretty much the end of the two-part random invasions video. I hope you guys have enjoyed the two-part series. Now, you guys need to stay tuned because I have a lot of footage, but I've pretty much been busy this week. Actually, pretty much for the last 2 weeks, and I haven't really been uploading as often as I usually do. But, I mean, I have a lot of footage, so just stand by. The videos will be coming. Alright guys, I'm out of here. Martyrs Brigade is